TV2 Nashville. From the heart of the Mid-South, this is Newswatch 2, acclaimed by the Associated Press as Tennessee's outstanding newscast.
Hello, I'm Jud Collins. Here's the news. Channel 2 News' Jim Travis reports from Louisville today that the National Governors Conference endorsed President Carter's windfall profits tax only after debating whether windfall profits should go to the oil companies or be shared by the poor. Here's his report.
9 and 19 is 28.
The governor's approval of the Carter oil price decontrol windfall profits tax proposals came only after heated debate over how the windfall tax should be used. I'm Jim Travis, Newswatch 2 at the National Governors Conference in Louisville, Kentucky.
Former Public Service Commission Chairman Bob Clement hit another stumbling block today in his effort to get confirmation as the new TVA board member. The Senate Public Works Committee postponed a meeting on the nomination. The meeting was canceled by Senator Howell Heflin of Alabama, who has opposed Clement's nomination. Metro Councilman Bill Higgins and candidate for Mayor Dan Power leveled separate blasts at the CETA program today. Channel 2's Rita Whitfield says the criticism was directed not so much at the federally funded program as it was to Mayor Fulton.
Thousands of dollars in CETA funds were used to renovate this vacant East Nashville house, while occupied dwellings such as this remain in deplorable condition. This represents one of many alleged misuses of...
Rita Whitfield, Newswatch 2.
Families needing food stamps may be misinformed by food stamp workers if they don't know their rights. That today from a citizens group which charges local food stamp offices with violating several federal laws. Terri Merryman reports.
Wait, that's what a food stamp worker told this woman. Had it not been for MANA, a citizens group established to help Terri Merryman, Newswatch 2.
Tomorrow, another federal grand jury begins a probe into possible corruption in government. This time, it's centered in Lebanon. Channel 2's Jim Gilchrist is with us tonight. Jim, I understand you were in Lebanon today. Tell us about that grand jury investigation.
Well, Judd, the FBI has a dozen agents in Lebanon right now developing the many leads on this case. They've spoken to perhaps 50 people in the past 3 or 4 days. The investigation is under the charge of U.S. Attorney Hal Harden. It's been in really high gear for about 2 months, but it began as long as 9 months ago when Wilson County Sheriff Gwen King was approached by a well-known Lebanon gambler. He offered the lawman a cash bribe to ignore a high-stakes poker game at a hotel to bond people in the Lebanon area.
Sounds like a pretty tough poker game. Jim, will the FBI present any cases to the grand jury this week? What's your feeling about it?
They can, Judd, I think, but at this point I understand there are no conclusions, no deductions. I've been told by a very high-placed source that it's still just an investigation, but they're going to go ahead with it, as one person said, to clear up all the rumors in Lebanon.
Thank you, Jim. Jim Gilchrist with that report for Channel 2 News. The FBI says violent crime in Tennessee's 4 major cities has risen 15% during the first quarter this year compared to the same 3 months of 1978. The national rate was 17%. A class action lawsuit's been filed in Chancery Court by some students who claim the Metro Transit Authority's 15% boost in student fares violates a student Ease a Rider program. Lawyers for the students asked Chancellor C. Allen High for an injunction which would block the transit authority from charging the higher rate until the lawsuit can be heard. The rates went into effect July 1st. Metro firefighters went along with a recommendation by their union's executive council last night and voted not to take another strike vote until after October. But the president of the Metro Firefighters Union, Doug Horn, said his organization will ask the Metro Council next week to set aside more money for the firefighters. Union members are seeking a 5% premium pay package in lieu of overtime pay. They say they work a 56-hour week, but they're only paid for 40 hours. If the space agency's predictions are accurate, Skylab will come hurtling back to Earth where virtually no one will see it. The space agency says the most likely area for Skylab's first debris is in the South Atlantic off Africa. The time will be tomorrow morning between 6:02 and tomorrow afternoon 5:02 Nashville time. Channel 2's Denise LeClaire is in Huntsville, Alabama at the Marshall Space Flight Center, where officials are tracking Skylab, and Denise will have a report tonight at 10 o'clock. Meanwhile, we have this report from ABC.
Drag and gravity are having their effect. Skylab is being... Charles Murphy, ABC News, Houston.
In the last few weeks, the trucking industry has been prominent in the news because of their protest of fuel prices and weight limits. This has caused us to focus attention on another element of the industry that we may have taken for granted, the truck stop. Bill Perkins has this report.
To many people, a truck stop is where a trucker pulls his rig in for refueling. Maybe. I'm Bill Perkins, Newswatch 2.
The Metro School Board's meeting at this hour. Ann Holt is there with one of our live cameras, and we understand some budget issues are coming up at today's meeting. Tell us about it.
Well, Judge, the board still must cut $4,000 from its budget in order to bring it in line with revenues. And in order to do that, the board is...
And we'll get a complete update on that story tonight at 10. Renowned symphony conductor Arthur Fiedler died today at his home in Boston. The 84-year-old maestro was credited with bringing classical music to the masses through his Boston Symphony Pops concerts. Chet Atkins has been featured with Fiedler and the orchestra several times, cut 2 albums with Fiedler, and went on tour with him. Today, Atkins recalled Fiedler as a jovial man who played a major role in Atkins' career.
It was one of the great turning points in my career.
Environmental officials in Memphis today decided to run more than 1 million gallons of contaminated water through the city's water treatment plant and then dump it in the Mississippi River. The runoff water contains chemicals from a plant which exploded and burned last week in Memphis. The water's been in a man-made pond at the chemical plant since Thursday. The dollar loss in the explosion's been estimated at over $2.5 million. Tennessee Highway Patrol says a hazardous chemical that leaked from a tanker truck last night in West Tennessee has been transferred safely. The chemical leaked from a tanker near Sugar Tree, Tennessee, along I-40. Authorities say it was a slow leak, and a breeze evaporated the chemical when it hit the ground. Publisher Eamon Carter Evans, who recently announced plans to sell the Tennessean for $50 million, has offered to buy the historic Rattle and Snap Mansion near Columbia for over $1 million. Disposition of the stately home, which has 26 feet columns across the front, is subject to proceedings in federal bankruptcy court. Tom Seiler tells me there's a hurricane brewing in the Gulf, and Tom, we're anxious to hear about that.
Right. Perhaps a future Tom Watson or Jack Nicklaus.
Sometime in the future, maybe about 20 years from now, a TV sportscaster may be saying, and now, approaching the 18th green, the U.S. Open leader, Keith Witt. Keith Witt is a 4-year-old Nashvilleian.
Incredible. Wish I could hit a golf ball like that.
He swings a lot like Watson right now, doesn't he?
Great follow-through.
Thank you, Bob. We'll be back with a commentary. And that's the news. Thanks and good evening.